Sulfuric acid is a very useful acid because of its high boiling point and high acidity. It's a very versatile chemical that was used in all sorts of reactions. But unfortunately, it's also banned in the EU. So that's why I will be exploring lots of methods to make sulfuric acid in this series. We will begin with the preparation of sulfuric acid via the oxalic acid method. So let's begin with the synthesis. First, weigh out 22.5 grams of copper sulfate pentahydrate and dissolve it in about 100 milliliters of water. When all your copper sulfate has dissolved in the water, add 11.5 grams of oxalic acid dihydrate. This should precipitate white bluish copper oxalate and make sulfuric acid in solution. To isolate the sulfuric acid, we need to filter off the copper oxalate. This turned out to be easier said than done, because it took me like a fucking hour to filter that shit. So after you're done filtering your suspension, you should be left with just a solution of some sulfuric acid. The only thing left to do is boil down to increase the concentration. In my case, there's still some copper oxalate in suspension, but I will filter it a second time. As you can clearly see, the pH is very low, around 1. So there's clearly an acid present, which hopefully is some sulfuric acid. Okay, after filtering a second time through some cotton wool, it finally was a clear-ish solution. So let's boil down and see if we can obtain some relatively concentrated sulfuric acid. Just boiling one more time, and then I might have a little bit of concentrated sulfuric acid. Hopefully. That will be awesome. Yes, I'm beginning to see the white like smoke that sulfuric acid creates when it gets near its boiling point. And I need to stop this right now because my lungs, they are going to die. After boiling for a while, I could see the white acid vapor starting to form. This indicates that the acid is quite concentrated. But just to be sure, I tested the pH again. It turned out to be very acidic, which of course is a very good sign. We have some strong sulfuric acid. Concentrated sulfuric acid has some very powerful dehydrating powers, so let's test if mine does too. I will test this by doing the famous sugar snake reaction. It did not produce a very cool reaction, but it did dehydrate the sugar, so that's a proof that it's sulfuric acid, because oxalic acid can't do that. Black tar. So, is this method actually worth your time and effort? Well, there are a few problems with this method. First, it produces quite a lot of copper waste, which isn't really ideal. Second, it is kind of slow and inefficient, so you need to have like industrial scale to produce any large quantities. So I would not really recommend it, but if this is your only way to get sulfuric acid, it's a reasonable way. I really hope you enjoyed this video. In future videos I will be exploring other methods of making sulfuric acid. Goodbye.